The American presidency has grown more powerful over time, without doubt. It is very uncommon for presidential power to recede once a power has been either taken or been given. There are a few remarkable moments in American history where Congress has taken back some of its power. One of the most recent ones was the War Powers Act, where Congress set up very clear guidelines by which presidents could administer or prosecute a military action. To put that into perspective, that legislation was only passed by overriding a presidential veto. That shows both that it happens rarely, that ability to take the power back, but also the institutional barriers for Congress to do that. Because if they see a need to rein in the president, they have to pass legislation typically to do it. And the only way to pass that legislation is then to override the veto of the president you're trying to rein in. And so oftentimes Congress is too quick to grant power without the realization that it's going to be very difficult to reclaim that power.
The relative roles of Congress and the presidency have changed dramatically over the course of American history. Some describe it as a pendulum, meaning that the pendulum swings from one side to the other where you have congressional dominance, and then it gradually swings back over when it's a period of executive dominance or presidential dominance. Most of the 20th century and the 21st century has been characterized by presidential dominance for a variety of reasons. I think the first president that really sort of laid the groundwork to show that how powerful the president can be is FDR. When he was elected president, shortly thereafter, there was an economic crisis, the Depression. He was able to pass huge amounts of legislation, sort of crisis emergency legislation. At the same time, you saw a huge expansion in the government. So it was the first time in American history where people looked to the presidency to help them in times of need. And at the same time, you had this expansion in the number of agencies and the number of departments in the American government. We call it the swelling of the presidency, where the institution and the executive branch became much larger than it ever had been in American history. So if you start at sort of 1932 and take it through the present in the 2010, 2015, what you see is that the size of the executive branch continues to expand. It's grown tremendously. At the same time, you have the institution of Congress. And Congress as an institution has always had 535 members, or at least in the recent times it's had 435 members in the House, 100 senators. They have staff members, but other than that, they can't really expand. Occasionally, they'll create specialized office, like the Office of Science and Technology Policy, where they're trying to build expertise. They do that often through the committee system. They'll create budget committees and committees that mirror the executive branch so that they can check the executive branch. But the institution of Congress is quite limited in how big it can become. So what has happened over time is that you've seen this swelling of the presidency from an institutional perspective. At the same time, you've seen dramatic technological developments with the media. And we now have television, we now have the internet, and the presidency is much easier to cover a single individual than it is 435 members of the House, 100 senators. So presidents get so much attention. Their staff members get a great deal of attention. Their cabinet secretaries get a great deal of attention, that it creates the perception that the presidency is at the apex of American government, even though it's still not. The Constitution holds true despite technological developments, despite other developments, population growth, things like that. So I would say that over time, there have been periods of American history where Congress was perceived to be the more dominant branch, but certainly for the 20th and the 21st century, I think it's fair to say that the presidency is perceived to be the dominant institution due to its size, due to the role of the media, and sort of public impression and public opinion.